correctly with the correct amount.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll.
www.d20radio.com.
Welcome back to the How We Roll Gaming podcast, everyone. It's Daryl here, and Nick is with me, but Robert is not with us. We are Robertless.
Oh no.
We are Robertless, but we are not rudderless. we will.
Are we in search of Robert?
No. We know where Robert is. He's just not on the show this time around. I know. We'll miss him. But he's here in spirit. He's here in spirit. So before we get into
that's what the spirits that still in the dark void of his home told us.
yes, he's fallen into the dark void. Before we dive into the topic and stuff this week, I am perplexed. I got a shipping notification from one of my Kickstarters today, but I don't know which one. There's like three or four of them outstanding that it could be, and I don't know which one it is.
Well, that just makes it a mystery box.
Yes, it will be a pleasant surprise when it shows up. Actually, I think I know which one it probably is, because I know which update said that they're starting US fulfillment, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. They are
It's going to be where the fun begins.
could be, and I don't remember if you backed this one or not. It's one that I saw promoted on one of Bob Worldbuilder's videos, and it's the magnetic dry erase hex shaped map tiles.
Oh, I haven't heard of. I remember backing that like a while ago. I forget what the states I put it at, but it's like I do remember backing that.
Yeah, and the last update that I saw, they said that they were about to start US fulfillment. So
I know
maybe that's what it is.
It could be like I was expecting a package all day, but it's been windy outside, so you know how sometimes my Vivint doorbell cam is either like not working or overly sensitive to the wind.
Yes, I do, and I still need to find for you the
It
video
was
of.
difficult
I
to
still
win
need to
today.
find for you the video of the Vivint ad where the Vivint agent is doing installation or something, and in the attic fights a
Squirrel!
Wouldn't
I swear to
surprise
you,
me.
it's a real ad. Anyway, before we get started, as always, we want to let you know about one of the other great podcasts here on the D20 Radio Network. And this one, I think, is still running unchallenged for the longest title of any podcast on the D20 Radio Network. The Wondrous Atlas of Creation's Destiny, an Exalted podcast.
Wondrous Atlas covers the lore and setting of the Exalted RPG. Each topic is split into 2 episodes. One to cover lore of a given subject, and the other discussing ways to use it in your game. Head to your favorite podcast outlet and check out the Wondrous Atlas of Creation's Destiny. Whew, that is a mouthful.
And of course, you link in the show notes.
Obviously.
Now, what we're going to be talking about today is something that we do occasionally in our group, which is we learn a new system.
Mm-hmm.
And this time around, the new system that we are learning, so far we have played twice. We've played a quick start and we have done a session 0 of a new campaign, is Star Trek Adventures 2nd Edition from Modifius.
Now I know
And
everyone's going to leave because you're going to call us nerds.
Yeah, nerds and Star Trek is woke and Starfleet Academy is canceled. So why bother? Well, because it's a fun game. That's why
It is a
bother.
fun. It is a fun game, and
And
wait,
it's a
Star Trek's
fun setting to
wait,
play
Star,
in.
wait, Star Trek's woke. When did that happen?
1966.
Wow.
Literally 1966. That's when it happened. It did not. No, I'm not getting on that soapbox. That's a soapbox maybe for casual nerdity, but not for how we roll gaming.
That would be it. That would be the soapbox. Are this
But
still a thing? Do just people just put out soapboxes for people to stand on still, or is that woke now?
yeah, now you just go online and type behind a screen. But anyway, whenever you're learning a new system, it's a growing process and a learning process for the GM and the players alike.
It does
And
help when there are similar systems, and due to the proliferation of many systems, there are some overlaps.
definitely, because Star Trek Adventures plays in the modifius 2D20 system. And we already have one existing campaign in the 2D20 system, your Fallout campaign that you run.
Yes, and there are there are significant similarities and differences, but they both reflect this being a second edition game
That that's exactly what I
in
was about to say.
and also being a different system and how they use their rules to reflect their different genres or franchises in this case.
Yes, because one of the things that I definitely want to mention right off the bat is with Star Trek Adventures, everything in the system is designed to push the narrative aspect over the crunch.
Which I would say
It's
like is something that the as someone running the Fallout game, the crunch is kind of the fun that people like.
yeah, because combat and fighting things, that part of it comes from the two properties origins. Fallout comes from a video game where you run around and shoot stuff. So combat is a very heavy element of the Fallout RPG in the 2D20 system. Star Trek, yes, Star Trek has combat. Star Trek has action scenes in the various series and movies. But at its heart, as I saw in a this may sound counterintuitive, but a pro Star Trek video that I was watching last night, Star Trek is often about people sitting around big tables and talking their way to a resolution of a problem.
This is true.
One of the changes that they made with this second edition for Star Trek Adventures, first edition was very much in the same 2D20 mold as Fallout and Dune and everything else that they run in 2D20, in that it used D6s with specialized symbols on them to indicate damage and things like that for weapons and combat. In second edition of Star Trek Adventures, those D6s are out the window.
It
You
did,
only
which
use the D20s.
and again it fits because the Fallout games are an RPG where yes you can talk and do all kinds of wacky fun stuff, but usually that also involves if things go wrong, well then that's when you have your gun for the solution.
Right.
Star Trek is
And so,
it doesn't have that sort of you don't have to fall back on a weapon to solve your solution. You can still solve the solution diplomatically, even if you mess up.
and ideally you want to solve things diplomatically.
Yes,
Throughout the lore of the franchise, there is often a point made about all appearances to the contrary, Starfleet is not the military.
yeah,
I
it
mean,
depends on who you
they,
ask
it depends on who you ask, and it depends on the storyline. But what
and
that
how
really
many lens
boils down
flares are
to,
going on.
and it it also really comes down to what they're saying when they say that is Starfleet's primary function is not a military.
Exactly. It may have the trappings of like a navy, but it's a it's an exploration operation most of the times.
It's exploration and diplomacy. And so the system is with second edition is built to push that. It's built to push the cooperation between the players in accomplishing a task as opposed to just punching something in the face to solve the problem.
That doesn't mean that we haven't encountered a situation with it, but I can see where as since I've run the as you said the sort of system before this Fallout, I can see where if push comes to shove, there's still fisticuffs can happen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There
But
are
it just
naturally combat rules for Star Trek Adventures. We just really
but
haven't had an
but it
opportunity
isn't
to use them. In
which isn't
fact,
a downside.
no, it's not. One of the things that I will point out is that the quick start that we played had zero combat written into it. It's not
Really?
that it's not that when we ran the quick start all of you opted to avoid the combat. There is no combat written into that quick start.
Once
The
again, like
closest that the
you say
closest
that
that there
we
is,
didn't run into combat. It's like we played it as like sort of honestly, this is one of the few games that we sort of play it straight
yeah, and I I have no
with
doubt, one
with very little like sort of our usual shenanigans.
which as the GM, I'm not going to mind if shenanigans show up because despite what a certain segment of the fandom would tell you, Star Trek can be goofy as hell.
Oh, it is goofy as hell. It's like don't tell me Q isn't a goofy concept. He's cool. He's amazing. Great character. Goofy
Well,
concept on just a goofy concept.
Q, the Tribbles, uh, Star
And the
Trek for the
troubles with
Voyage
them.
Home, and uh, yeah,
There be
Strange New
whales
Worlds.
here.
Strange New Worlds did a musical episode. Strange New Worlds did an episode where they all were turned into storybook characters. Yeah. uh,
Picard fought against Moriarty.
the crew of the Enterprise D were turned into Robin Hood and his merry men. And Worf must protest. He is not a merry man.
The Voyager. Just, just, just Voyager.
But yeah, so I'm not going to mind if at some point shenanigans break out. I'm fully
Oh, but I will.
expecting shenanigans from Betsy when she joins the campaign.
Oh yeah, but I will say that part of the fun has been like how serious we kind of got into it.
You got in the prologue adventure in session 0, you were all taking it so seriously that you weren't going you realized there is danger in this derelict Starfleet ship that you found. And so the captain, one of the PCs, our wonderful friend Lauren, who was voted captain by all of the players after the quick start,
And mainly
said
because like they played it. We I
that
think they
they
still
played a
doubt
great
it, but
captain.
they captained the
Lauren
captain out of that.
Lauren plays a great captain. Said, "I can't guarantee my crew's safety. We're not beaming over." And so that it took much longer to get you over to the ship than I had planned. So all of those logs that you all collected, you were going to collect on the ship, but I had to come up with a way for you to get those logs without going to the ship because it didn't look like you were going to go to the ship at all.
But again, we honestly like, and we were perfectly fine with that. We were investigating it from every angle. We were treating it, even my character, which was playing the security officer. Normally, I'd play it like gung ho, let's go overboard. Is like I
But
was
your
deferring to
security
the cap.
officer is invested in the security of the crew.
Yeah, and was basically doing the things like. And every time we did a check, we looked over to our captain PC. It's like captain, and then it's like the fun was role playing, like the actual like being on the bridge and like doing that stuff.
Yep. Yep.
It's very novel, but it fits. If you get the vibe of a Star Trek series, there's like, yeah, that's kind of fun. Be like captain gobbledygook.
I do kind of wish that our Robert has chosen to sit this campaign out because he's not familiar with Star Trek as a property, and so while he played and enjoyed the quick start, he's just not invested in the game, which is totally fine.
That's perfectly fair.
It's
And
it's totally fine. I wish that he had decided to play because I had come up with a character hook that he was free to use or not use that would have allowed him to play into not being familiar with the franchise. And that hook was I would had he decided to join, this prologue session would have involved some kind of major temporal distortion that
ooh,
Robert would have been plucked from 2026 and plopped into the 24th century
oh, that would have been cool.
for reasons. There wouldn't have been a way
Yeah.
to get him back home to where he belonged. And in fact, one of the hooks that I had kind of come up with, one of the character bits, is my wife Stephanie is playing a lanthanite, a species that's been introduced in Strange New Worlds and Star Trek Academy that are basically immortal.
Yeah.
And she's been alive on Earth for many centuries. And I was going to write in that she knew him in the 21st century on Earth.
That would have been cool.
Part of the reasons that he couldn't go back home is no, you disappeared one day in 2026 and never came back.
Oh yeah,
Mystery was
that would
never
have broken.
solved.
That would have broken the temporal prime directive.
Yeah, so we can't take you back. So I had a hook all set for him, but he
But it,
opted not to play, so totally
yeah,
fair.
that's totally fair. What was Betsy going to play? I
No,
mean,
she last I heard, and she's still going to play. She last I
I
heard
know
she
she
had
is.
not decided. She had not decided on a species, but she is going to be the con officer, basically the pilot
Oh,
of the ship.
oh,
But
cool.
an ensign fresh out of Starfleet Academy who has drunk the Starfleet Kool-Aid. You know that person who is fresh out of school and everything is by the book. This is how I learned to do it. And by golly, I am ready to boldly go where no one has gone before. And let's go, Starfleet. And so she's going to be playing a gung ho ensign. This is their first assignment, fresh out of the academy.
Oh, I think my character might butt heads with hers.
Quite possibly. Quite possibly. And the last member of the crew that's going to be rounded out, our friend Dante is going to be playing the first officer.
Ooh.
And I don't know that he has decided what species yet. He was tossing some ideas around the last time I talked to him.
It was one
One
of
of
the. It
the
was one of the
things that
blue. It was one of the blue guys, wasn't it?
No, I think he was considering either a Trill or a Bajoran.
Oh yeah, Bajoran. That's what I was thinking.
So I'm looking forward to having the whole crew together. But one thing that's really great about our group is that, going with the topic of this episode, we're all learning the system together.
As we said, we're playing a similar system, the Fallout system from the same 2D20 Modifius, but that's equally as new as this one in that's only like 3 sessions in. This is roughly one and a half.
Yeah, if we're counting the quick start as another session, which
Is it what that's why I was
I
considering the start the beginner game that we did when we first tested it out.
yeah. The other reason that I'm kind of sad that Robert didn't join the campaign is whenever Gamer Nation Con gets scheduled, since Star Trek is the theme, we're going to be running our traditional three-parter in Star Trek Adventures 2E. It's easy enough for him to pick up and run, and
Oh yeah,
I
and he
I will I will help him
it
out with writing any lore stuff that he needs to know.
again like it's similar enough to like we get the Fallout system and we get this system pretty well. They're similar
Yeah.
enough that we and easy enough to get into, which is probably something we should get into the actual mechanics of it.
Yep. Which the mechanics of it, like all of the Modifius 2D20 systems, is that you have 6 characteristics, and then with Star Trek, rather than having different skills, you have departments that reflect the departments in Starfleet.
Hmm.
And to what you do is when you go to complete a task that's going to require a roll, you add the characteristic that applies with the department that applies, and that's your target number. So if, say, you were going to be trying to uh, as the security chief,
Yeah,
you were going to be trying to intimidate a prisoner that you had taken on the ship into giving up information.
yeah.
You would take your attribute, I've been calling them characteristics, their attribute of presence, and I
Hmm.
would say that that would fall under, as the player, you could make a an argument for me either way for uh, the command department, but I would probably say security.
And
So
I'd
you would
probably
add
start up by suggesting security first, probably.
so you would add your presence attribute and your security department score. So if your presence is a 6 and your security is a 3, your target is a 9. So you have to roll successes, which are rolling 9 or below in this case.
Which
And I just picked those numbers out of thin air.
I know, but and we
Uh,
start because the titular it's called the 2D20 system because
you start with 2d20s. That's your base roll. Now, you can add additional dice through equipment or through some talents that you have, or by using a narrative currency that the game has, momentum or threat.
but what about our friends on the bridge?
Your friends on the bridge can assist, but assisting to assist, let's say someone else was going to assist you. You have the counselor standing behind you. Although the way Stephanie plans on playing the counselor, she's a take no shit counselor, so she could very easily intimidate that suspect too. But let's say, rather than doing that, she's using her ability as the ship's counselor to kind of read the subject's body language. So she's going to assist you with, say, insight, and I would say probably medicine would count for her skills as a therapist, as a counselor, as a psychologist.
Yes.
So because she's assisting, she can roll 1d20 using her um, insight and medicine. So let's say her insight's 5 and her medicine is no, let's say her insight is 7 and her medicine is a 4. If she rolls under an 11 or under on her 1d20, that counts as a success to your intimidation roll, because narratively she read the situation, she observed the prisoner and gave you a way to approach them that's going to be more effective.
Which makes sense, and it's something very
Now,
much in fitting of the show.
now other characters can also assist with a 1d20 roll, but each additional assist costs a point, costs 1 point of momentum, or gives the GM 2 threat to play with. And
Which is the
momentum and threat are
aforementioned
that narrative
narratives.
currency.
Yes.
And we'll go into details on those in just a second. And each additional assistant, if a third person assists you, it costs 2 momentum or provides 4 threat to the GM. So it costs more for more people to work on the same thing.
But can benefit more, and there's an incentive to spending the narrative currency.
There's always, that's one thing that I love about this game, and it's a habit that we have trouble breaking in Fallout. It's a habit we have trouble breaking with the destiny points, which are similar in Star Wars.
Similar but different in that,
Well,
honestly, I feel
it's
there's a fun way of discussing that. The honestly, I think that there's a benefit of discussing these narrative currencies in a future uh, episode.
sure. No,
Because
and
there's something very unique in how I see and how they work, and how like the differences is how we've developed with them.
well, and the first, small aside here, the first system that I recall seeing with a narrative currency like this was Star Wars. We've spoken to, well, I don't know if you've heard them say this or not, but we've spoken to a friend of the show who has interviewed the designer of the 2d20 system from Odysseus, who told our friend that, and since this is coming, third hand information, that's why I'm not naming names. Their marching orders from Odysseus were to create a system that has the same sort of narrative push and vibe as FFG's Star Wars system. Hence, momentum and threat, or whatever the other 2d20 systems call them.
Which makes sense. It did make a big splash. The splash in the RPGs, the space, this the Destiny pool.
The back and forth of player and GM having a currency that they can spend to impact the game.
Yeah, it did make it, like, it may not seem like it on the outside, but it's like on, like, there's definitely talks between people. It's
Yeah.
like people were like,
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure like there were several videos I remember on YouTube, on some D&D YouTube, of like, so you want to introduce something similar to the Destiny pool to like your D&D game for like a couple for at least like
and
the early, for a year or two, like that was a big like thing.
and Daggerheart has adopted the same kind of concept too. Back to Star Trek. You also, just as a player on your own, you can spend that same narrative currency to purchase additional dice up to a maximum of 5d20s to roll.
Which we now
So
know is a
you know what
maximum of
you're
5. Which we now know is a maximum of 5.
we'll talk about the momentum and threat pools here in a minute. But you can have a maximum of 5 dice in your roll. And the reason for that is because as the GM sets a difficulty of 0 to 5, and that's how many successes have to be rolled to succeed.
And that's the successes are rolled on the d20s. So
Right, and it's meeting or below. It's like golf, at or below your target number that you got by combining your attribute and your department.
it's like golf. It's like golf, but fun.
Hey, don't let my dad hear you say that. My dad loves golf.
And that
And
means
you
he's,
live on
I
a
guess that
golf course.
uh, it's also a golf course here right now.
This is true. This is a good time to segue into that narrative currency, though, because if you have more successes than you need, those extra successes translate into momentum in your momentum pool. Now, momentum is a narrative currency that the players build and spend. You get momentum primarily by additional successes, but the core rulebook gives the GM latitude to award additional momentum for different things throughout the game. The momentum pool is a group pool
Yeah.
unless a particular point of momentum is declared otherwise through the action. But it's a group pool, so all of the players can spend the momentum pool. That momentum pool caps at 6. And there is an incentive, like we were saying, for the players to spend that momentum because at the end of a scene, if you will, and that's how Star Trek Adventures breaks down different segments of the game. Just like on a TV show, there are scenes. Not every scene is a structured initiative moment,
Yeah.
but you can, at the end of a scene, if there's momentum left in the player's momentum pool, one of them goes away. So there's incentive to use it because while it doesn't all go away, there is a bit of use it or lose it to the momentum.
And again, as it said, like if you get over your necessary successes, the the main point become you can recover it a lot quicker than you expect.
Yeah, you can recover it a lot quicker than you expect, but there's also incentive to spend it. You can spend it right then as you get that momentum for different narrative effects.
Again, and there's a
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
there's a there is a similar because it's a lot easier to recover. It's no longer, even though it's a group pool, it doesn't feel as dire as like, guys, we need to consider like every expenditure together
Right.
because
Now,
it can be
one,
because the potential to recover is like, well, if I spend it, if I get an additional success, then I've recovered what we lost.
exactly. Little sidebar here because of one of the things that you can spend momentum on. One of the things that you can spend momentum on is maintaining initiative for the players. And what that means is the way initiative works in Star Trek, you don't roll for it. It is a straightforward back and forth. Players go first, then NPC, then player, then NPC, then player, then NPC. But players can spend momentum to keep the initiative. So if you are the tactical officer and you go first in the initiative and you get some extra successes that throw momentum in the pool, and you're like, no, we're going to press our advantage here. We have them pinned down, spend that momentum, and another player can go next.
And that's neat.
It's a It's a nice, tight, efficient little initiative system and incentive to spend momentum.
Yeah. And again, if you spend momentum, you get the chance to recover momentum, and well, you can see how that can really create ineffective uses of this currency. The currency is spent more consistently.
Absolutely. The flip side of momentum is threat. Threat is the GM's currency. Unlike the momentum pool, the game starts with threat in the pool. I want to say, and I'm not remembering this exactly off the top of my head with 100% confidence, but we are still
Wait,
learning the system.
I
We're
thought you were the
still learning
GM.
the
That means
system.
you know everything and all the rules.
So, as I
JK.
recall, I know, as I recall, the GM starts off with one or two, I think it's two threat for every player. But the GM also has the leeway to, like, the session zero prologue mini session, mini adventure kicked off with the crew coming aboard the ship, the captain getting command, and going off on a shakedown cruise. So the way the core rulebook words it is part of that starting momentum or starting threat can be adjusted up or down based on the direness of the situation that the crew and the ship find themselves in at the start of an adventure, at the start of an episode, air quotes. And so what I did is I was like, you know what? No, I have four players today, but the now that I think about it, I think it is only one threat per player because I think I was going to be starting off with four threat, but I was like, this is a really low stakes start, so I only have two threat to start off. If the players don't have momentum to spend, they can still buy additional dice or things like that by giving the GM threat to play with. And then the GM can spend that narrative currency to, you know, complicate the situation, complicate the scene, or anything of that nature. So it's a great balancing act back and forth rather than flipping a set number of points back and forth. Like with the Destiny points, you have kind of a true ebb and flow where the player resource is capped. That
Yeah.
narrative currency is capped,
Again,
whereas the
there's
threat isn't.
there's a similarity and a major difference in how they both want to function. And I feel like there's something to explore with other systems that use similar sort of narrative constraints, but that's another topic. But that's like
Yep.
there's a lot more now that we brought it up. There's a lot more nuance, and even between two of the D20 games, Fallout and this have very different ways of
Yeah, I was
spending and
just about
gaming
to
their.
ask you, since I've not run Fallout and I don't have a copy of the core rulebook myself, does it have I know it has something similar to momentum,
It
but
has both similar to threat and momentum called
that's
action
what I was going to
points.
ask. That's what I was going to ask if there was
I
something
start out
similar to
with
threat.
I start off with a pool of action points, and there's a pool of action points that starts out that caps at a certain point for the players as well as me. Now
So,
again,
yeah.
we haven't done a whole lot of again, we're still learning the system, but you guys should be spending your action points a bit more similarly as you have been doing in Star Trek.
Well, and I think part of that too is as a player in the Fallout game, I can't definitively speak for anybody else, but I always forget that they're there.
And yeah, I'm working on a better way to represent them to you guys. I've been
I
working on that with some
I
ideas.
I, I have thoughts. I'll talk to you offline.
Okay.
I think you'll like what I have in mind. I really like that give and take and how
Yeah.
Modifius built that into both systems from the sound of it, that there is a give and take there, that it's not just flipping back and forth, it's building both pools and
It's
depleting both
incentivizing
pools as the
it's
game
incentivizing you to
goes
use
on.
it. Yeah.
Right.
Now there's a benefit to both ideas, but again, that requires a much more nuanced talk.
Yep. And that means that since Robert and I both have the core rulebook, we should sit down and actually read through Daggerheart so we can throw its system into that episode.
I might have to pick up that as well, so I can check that out for the system as well.
As everything else goes along, it's pretty straightforward RPG stuff.
Oh yeah,
You
it's again a lot of the fun I felt that we had, and again this might just because even though like I'll bet I know a lot more Trek than most, but it's not my major wheelhouse. But I understand the vibe. I understand the tropes. It's easy for me to get into, and I feel like a lot of the fun was just
it,
pretending to be on the Brids.
yeah, it's one of those properties, kind of like Star Wars, that whether you're a deeply ingrained fan or not, a lot of the elements of it most people know through pop culture osmosis. We know Captain Kirk, we know the Starship Enterprise, we know Captain Picard.
We
We
know that
know some of those tropes.
they sit at their little computer desks, and they're like, boop, boop, boop,
Right.
boop, 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 boop,
They
and they're
sit
like,
it
Mister
they sit they
Captain.
they sit at their consoles that if the ship accidentally hits a speed bump, explode in their faces.
And they're like, "Do, Captain," and Technobabble.
I'm glad you mentioned Technobabble because I hadn't thought to make a particular point about this, but I love this. The
Oh,
core rulebook,
I brought it up for you just because I knew you wanted to talk about it.
the core rulebook
I got you.
has a random table. Robert would love it to come up with Technobabble. You roll a d20 on a 5 column Treknobabble table to come up with your Technobabble uh, explanation. And they have a regular Technobabble one and they have a medical Technobabble table. And I
They got like
love that these exist.
scientist names in there. It's like
I love it. I love that it exists. It is so much fun. It is
it
so much fun.
it's just again it really does help with like the fact that like yeah you just get in you can yeah like the most fun for a RPG game is like just the at least for me is the role playing part. So it was fun riffing off of the characters and just sort of like we were playing in my den, so that there's like we had a lot of chairs, so we could all sort of like turn to each other and be like, "Captain."
Oh yeah. So it's funny you should mention that. I mentioned I've mentioned on a couple of episodes the ill-fated one session of an earlier Star Trek RPG system that just went nowhere. We played at my apartment at the time, and it was by pure coincidence, but I loved that it worked out this way. The way that my apartment was set up, and we were on the um, same class of starship in that as we are in our new campaign. We were on the Intrepid class, the Voyager,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and I was the tactical officer there, and
Oh, that's cool.
just and
It's like poetry. It
just
rhymes.
because of the seating available that I had, I was sitting at my computer desk that was in like the little dining room nook of my apartment. And thinking back on it, the way that I had my living room and that little nook set up, it was we were all kind of sitting in the layout of our stations on the bridge. And it was, now that I think about it, that was kind of cool.
It is pretty cool.
So that's your next project, Nick. When you redo the game room upstairs, uh, lay it out like a Starfleet starship bridge.
All right, but unfortunately, every time there's a gust of wind, everyone's gonna have to like teetle over, and all the computers are gonna blow up.
Yes, that is fair. That's fair trade off. Immersion and realism. Now, speaking of immersion, kind of a clunky segue. The one last thing about the system that I wanted to bring up that I like is character creation and advancement is not about points and it's not about levels. And
Yeah, that is very unique.
even though there's a rank hierarchy in Starfleet, it's not about rank. It's not about promotions. The character
Which
creation
honestly was
is
what I was expecting when I first heard about it, like, oh, it must be like a rank or merit type thing.
well, character creation is based upon setting up and documenting kind of a life path that the character took getting to the point of the adventure starting, of the campaign starting. So you pick where they're from. Where are they from? A home world? Are they from a were they raised on a space station? Were they raised on a colony somewhere? Where were they raised? Were they raised on a starship? And as you go and build out the life path, you are given the option to add additional talents that have to do with that life path, which give you bonuses and things like that. And it's a really nice way of building out the character that's not just all about, well, this character can drive really well, so I'm giving them uh, two ranks of piloting planetary.
It does allow a lot more of like the character part of the character building to come through.
And then advancement, the GM does not give you one lick of XP.
Not a
What
crumb.
what happens is each player is given a character personal log sheet, and in each after each session they just do a quick summary of what they did in that session and how it reflects the values that the character has, traits that the character has that they selected during character creation. Those values and traits can also change over time. Like there's a character creation video that I ran for us all while everyone was going through character creation, and
It's really good.
the example that that person was using was their PC that they were creating was a Bajoran, and the Bajoran's homeworld was occupied, and they were effectively enslaved by the Cardassians. So that Bajoran PC had a trait or a value of hates Cardassians. And we can kind of even see a character arc like this happen if we use Chief O'Brien from Star Trek The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine as an example. So O'Brien, we know that he took part in the war that the Federation fought with the Cardassians. So O'Brien started off with hates Cardassians. So as interacts, Bajor is this PC that was made in the video. As Bajor is freed, you know, that might lighten up to distrust Cardassians. And the same sort of thing happened with Chief O'Brien when he moved to Deep Space Nine. It
Hmm.
went from hate to, distrust. And then say through an adventure, as the GM throws a sympathetic Cardassian NPC into the mix, and that PC interacts with them, well, that may change their opinion of Cardassians, and that trait might become realizes that not all Cardassians are the same. And it allows the character to go through a journey. And what happens with this personal log is you record all of those events like that happen to the character as it reflects their values, as it reflects their traits, as they call upon things that they did and learned in previous sessions. And then when they hit a milestone, that's when they can get a new focus or a new talent or something like that. And so it is very, very heavily reliant upon the player not only advancing their character in terms of the numbers that are on the page, but in terms of how they're playing the character and how the values and focuses and traits and everything that they selected are impacting the decisions that they're making for the character. And it's a really, really unique system of advancement, and I
Yeah,
can't wait to see how it actually works in application.
and I look forward to it too. That's it's also different than the Fallout, which has Fallout has a bit more traditional XP, or I've gone with the similar to how we're doing our D&D campaign with milestone or sort of like achievement based.
Yeah, and
But yeah, Star Trek
that's
that
kind of what
truly
Star
is
Trek does. Star
it
Trek
kind of does
uses
that,
those milestones.
but it's entirely putting it on the impetus of the players is unique to that, which is very interesting.
It's very unique to that, but it's also very on brand for Star Trek. It's very on brand because we look at Star Trek and it's very, especially as it's gone on for 60 years, it's very rooted in the characters. It's very rooted in what the characters do, how they grow and change, because it's really one of, with a few exceptions, there are some elements of Star Trek that absolutely hit the reset button at the end of every episode. And the status quo is maintained through hell or high water. Looking at
What
you,
do you
Voyager.
what do you mean? They're totally going to revisit the time that Janeway turned into a lizard and created a bunch of spawn.
Harry Kim remained an ensign for 7 years. Harry Kim was an ensign for 7 years. Janeway gave battlefield commissions and promotions to the Maquis, terrorists who were rebelling against the Federation and the Cardassians. She gave them battlefield commissions and promotions. Harry stayed an ensign for 7 years. But that's okay. Harry also died and was replaced by the Harry from another timeline, and it was
Yes,
never mentioned again.
and didn't turn into a lizard.
Harry didn't turn into a lizard. It was Tom Paris and Janeway.
So he got lucky.
Well, I mean, one could say that Tom Paris got lucky too, because you mentioned the lizard spawn.
This is true.
In fact, Paris has two baby mamas because he had a baby with Bolana Torres too.
Oh, that's true.
So far, it's a fun system, and I appreciate all of you as my players allowing me to learn alongside you, because there's often not an easy way for a group as a whole to start playing in a brand new system for them.
This
You
is
know,
true,
we
and I guess I
with
kind of helped by running a similar system, not the
right,
same genre, but definitely similar system.
right, and I had played a game of first edition several years ago at Gamer Nation Con.
And we did when we were talking about Gamer Nation Con coming up. We wanted to do the begin game to try it out. out and see how
Right.
we vibe with it. So
Right. Do we vibe
there,
with it, or do we want to do our Star Trek game for Gamer Nation Con with a port over to Genesis? And
so I'd
really,
say that we had some plenty of good. So if and again, our group's pretty good with trying out new stuff. I have some new games that I'd like to try out for you guys sometimes later in the year,
oh,
that I've
me
packed
too.
and stuff. But it's like,
I've
but
got a
I'd
few
say,
that I want to
but
try when.
but of this one, like this was a pretty easy one for us to all get into because we were already starting out with a 2D20. We were looking at a 2D20 system already, and we're most of us have at least a passing knowledge, and well, everyone has a passing knowledge of the Star Trek from parody to outside of that, and wanted to try it anyways because we wanted to look at that for our future game. And so yeah, it all worked out pretty well.
Let me just say too that behind the scenes, I have been having a blast coming up with stuff. Just little world building stuff. Yeah, Star Trek. There's 60 years worth of world building for me to draw on, but I've been having such a blast coming up with this campaign's little corner of the world and building that up. You know, I have been having fun making NPCs and everything. That's something else that I want to mention now that I think of it too. I forgot to make a note that I wanted to do this.
Ooh,
Star Trek Adventures system has a unique set of NPC types that you can use. Yes, there are standard NPCs. There are your adversaries. There are your standard NPCs that you run into. But I love the terminology because they're looking at this as on the meta level, they're looking at Star Trek is a TV and movie property. So you have your player characters. Great. That we all know what those are in RPGs. But they also have a type of NPC that they call a supporting character. And a supporting character is an NPC, but they're built with a little more depth. They're the kind of character who can help out in a crisis if need be. That as an NPC, they can provide assistance for the PCs. So like Stephanie is the counselor. If she needs something help with a character PC or NPC who is also facing kind of a medical issue, none of our PCs are a medical officer. So I have statted out the chief medical officer as a supporting character. So the supporting character can provide assistance to her. But one of the other beautiful things that I love about the supporting characters, since they are more fleshed out, let's say uh, you know, the captain sends an away team down to a planet. Well, if the captain stays on the ship, any of the PCs that stay on the ship that aren't assigned to the away team, you can put supporting characters on the away team and give the players of the characters who are staying on the ship those supporting characters to play. So the captain stays on the ship, but it makes sense for the chief medical officer to go down. I can give Lauren the CMO to play. Tactical officer, it makes perfect sense for you to go down.
yeah.
But if Betsy's the con officer, she's told to stay back aboard the ship to maintain the ship being in orbit. So it makes sense. You're taking another security officer with you. Give Betsy a supporting character security officer to play, and those supporting characters can slightly advance as well. So it's a great system for keeping everyone engaged, even when the nature of the property frequently calls to split the party. It's a masterpiece of an NPC system.
Yeah.
That's a nice little touch that I like there too.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things I was started. What made me think of that is I have been having fun coming up with those supporting characters
And excited to
because
see how that looks.
with the exception of Betsy and Dante, I don't know exactly what they're doing yet, but I know what positions they're going to fill. So I am having fun building out quite a few supporting characters among the crew, along with regular, just, minor NPCs to fill out the ranks, but that will allow for gaps in the PC's areas of expertise to be filled. Like we don't have anybody we have a player who is playing a junior engineer, but as a junior engineer, they're not the chief engineer. So there's a supporting character who is the chief engineer. And so if there's a huge problem that calls for help from engineering, that supporting character can assist the junior engineer who's the PC.
Yep.
It's a very well balanced ecosystem, I guess is the best word for it. But yeah, I've been having a blast building out the little corner of the Star Trek universe that all of you are going to be playing in. And because it's natural to do so, kind of like I am with Walking Dead, I'm thinking in terms of seasons for the campaign. And how long is a season? I It's abstract for Walking Dead. I have it set for Star Trek. I have probably my story hooks for about half of the season already figured out. Not necessarily the first half, but peppering throughout. I I have a really really fun idea coming up for about the midpoint.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes, I do.
I'm excited.
That hook, that idea, that really fun idea came from I was just sitting around thinking, hey, you know what? This could make for a fun campaign. Well, I don't want to run another campaign, but I can sure use this idea in a session.
That's always
And
fun. It's always good to figure that
and
out.
and maybe I will flesh it out to be a one shot to run on my own at Gamer Nation Con.
Ooh.
Actually, since I might do that, let me just tell you, Nick, I'm going to let you in on the secret here. Not NCIS, but SCIS, the Starfleet Criminal Investigative Service.
Oh. Ooh. Oh, that sounds that intrigues me. That's.
And
Ooh.
as far as I
Oh,
can recall,
there are some ideas you could go with that.
as far as I know, Star Trek has never done anything like that. They've done the
It
Department of Chemical
hasn't.
Investigations. They've done Black Ops with Section 31. They've had the Judge Advocate General's office, but they've never had any kind of NCIS equivalent. And NCIS and Star Trek have the same parent company.
Yeah.
That's a hook that's coming up at some point. Now I have you intrigued.
I'm intrigued.
But yeah, it's go circling everything back. Learning a new system can seem overwhelming. I personally, I try not to let it show, but behind the scenes, I was slightly panicked running that session 0 prologue adventure because I'm like, I don't know this system like the back of my hand, and I know that I'm probably screwing stuff up, but hopefully everyone's having a good time, and it
And we
seemed
were
like you
having a
did.
good time.
And
We were
that was
having
the
a good
important
time.
part. That was the important part. So it can seem overwhelming to learn a new system.
Hmm.
And as long as you have a good group with you, and I'm gonna be really effusive with praise here. I think we have an incredible group of players.
Oh, thank you.
I mean,
And
and
if you
I
don't have a good group, you can always just get rid of them.
that's true. And the golf course behind your house is dug up all right now.
It is, yeah. They'll
Oh God,
never know.
you're gonna kill us all this weekend, aren't you, Nick?
I'm not running any games this weekend. Be careful about Robert.
Well, I mean, all the better for your alibi, Nick. All the better for your alibi. Why would I have killed them, officer? I didn't run anything. They didn't make me mad. I certainly didn't.
Finish him!
Yeah, no. Whoa, those big No, no, no. That's just construction on the golf course. Pay no attention to that.
But
You're gonna
yeah,
kill us.
it's an amazing system. It can be a bit nerve wracking, but it's always
But
fun.
I know that
Oh no! But there.
me either. Me either. And I paused it and it said it failed to pause, but it was still showing paused. So I just started it up again. But
Okay.
if it didn't pause, that's just a little more editing to do. But I was just saying, you're going to kill us.
No, no, it's Robert's game this weekend.
Yeah, but, that's your alibi. Why would I do that, officer? I didn't run a game. They didn't make me mad. Pay no attention to those trenches out there on the golf course. They're just doing construction on the golf course. You're going to kill us.
Well, we'll find out. We'll see if we have a new co-host next week.
Yeah, but of the three of us, you're the only one that has host duties for how we roll. You don't know how to run it yet.
This is true.
So
This is
this, if this is
true.
if this is the last episode, dear listeners, please send the authorities to Nick's house and tell them to dig up the golf course because he's killed us all. He's finally snapped.
Finally, I'm
Uh,
stabbed for Echo than Pop a long time ago.
well, all the more reason for us to be scared. Do you have any closing thoughts on learning a new game like Star Trek, Nick?
Honestly, it's as a player, it can be just as nerve wracking as learning to run one. But again, with a good with a good group with you, as well as a GM is also learning as well, it can make it feel a lot easier. It's definitely like it's stepping into something new, but when you're stepping into together, it's like getting into a cold pool. It's like you just gotta dip your feet in there and
Yep.
get used to it.
I know I'm not I was giving all of you praise as a good group. I know I'm not the only one who thinks that because our friend Steve over on Me and Steve Talk RPGs, I won't say quite frequently, but more than once I've heard him mention how much fun he has running games for us over on their show.
That's true.
So,
In fact, definitely check them out, and you can. I think we're in our closing.
yep, you can check out our website at howwerollgaming.com. And on our website, you'll find information about our current campaigns, a podcast archive, and links to our merch store and all of our social media. And on that merch store, those of you watching on YouTube, you can also get the same How We Roll Gaming coffee mug that I've been drinking out of. It is a wonderful coffee mug.
Nice.
But you can also directly support the show through Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/howwerollgaming and you'll see our different membership tiers, starting at just $2 a month, with special recognition on our Discord server and higher tiers giving you on-air credit and discounts in said merch store. Now, currently on that merch store, our highlighted seasonal item is our Nat One Crying is a Free Action T-shirt. It will be up. It'll be up through April and May, and in June, our Roll with Pride 2026 line will launch, and that Nat One shirt will go away.
Yep. And associated items from donated by various players will be there after I pry them off. I mean, not pry them off their corpses. That stuff's gonna happen. Finally, if you have any questions you'd like us to answer, topics you'd like us to cover, or even submit your own RPG glory story, shoot us an email at podcast@howwerollgaming.com.
Yes, and we need to do another RPG Glory Stories episode soon.
Oh, we do.
It has been too long.
Uh,
I know which one to do next, but again, we will talk offline. But until then, everyone, have a great rest of the day that you're having right now, a great couple of weeks until our next episode. We hope to see you back next time. Until then, have a wonderful time and play some wonderful games.
yeah, indeed.
And as always, I'm Daryl,
I'm Nick.
and this is how we roll.